Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. They can be found on Instagram at RemyTav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y. Or you can follow them on Facebook. And with that, George, we are off.
We are off and running on another
and
Tuesday
week to
night.
week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we can start off
starting with
the
that scrimmage Saturday.
Yep. So I was able to make it. It was not publicly advertised. I don't believe that it was going to be at Nippert.
No, and I'll be honest, I got so deep in the weeds Friday night, I forgot about everything in the world and woke up late Saturday. So you can imagine what I was doing Friday night. It was over before I remembered.
Oh, no.
It happens. It happens. But I'm heading to Higher Ground Thursday morning. I'm going to head out there and check them out, see what I can see, and hopefully I see enough bodies on that defensive line.
Depending on what time I'm able to make it out of Athens, there is a chance that I will be joining you on Thursday, actually.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
We'll see. I'm going into Thursday. I'm going into Cincy Thursday for I'm getting a haircut, as is our youngest boy here. So we'll be potentially there with you. So that
you're getting a haircut?
I mean, let's pump the brakes. It's just going to be a trim. You still have to maintain.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I had to.
I used to shave the hair like all the way down to like a 1. Anyway,
whatever you're going to pay, you're going to get ripped off because they're not taking a lot off, I'm sure.
It's my sister, and
it's gratis. Okay,
we'll be good. But I was able to make it through the scrimmage, and the offense came out and was able to do their thing early on. Joe Royer scored twice right away.
He looked ridiculous, like what I saw post game, and I saw the interviews, and obviously his interview, he isn't going to give himself a glowing report, but it seemed like he had fun. But yeah, that's certainly one of the headlines out of that game is what this dude's been looking like and how much help he could be, especially in that red zone this year.
Yeah, I think he had something close to 130 yards right away. But after that, the defense kind of stole the show and showed out until close to the end, where the offense was able to score again when they were in the red zone and running red zone offense. But even that, I wouldn't say was at a high clip. They started scoring again, but it wasn't like they were scoring every play. It wasn't like they were scoring every drive. The defense was still able to stop them. But they did find the end zone again. So it was a weird day. I was not wowed by any of the quarterback play. I don't seem to be far off base in my estimation as far as that goes. But Chad said today that Brendan Sorsby had maybe his best day of camp. Brady Lichtenberg had a good day as well today. So you have ebbs and flows with every camp. It'd be really bad if no one was adjusting at all and you just had one side of the ball dominating. But it is what it is. I'm just curious what thoughts you had on the scrimmage, or if you had questions or anything like that.
Number one, I was very happy to hear the coaches say some of the things they said after the scrimmage about that defense and the way they responded and the way they got it together and started playing much better. And in particular, and it's going to start up front, and we'll get to that. And I'm everybody's very concerned about that, what they're going to have up front defensively because of injuries. But to hear about the linebacker play and the DBs and the safety play and the depth they seem to have, at safety and at linebacker now, which is shocking because they were starving for that last year. So them making that a priority in the portal seems like it's paying off because they seemed rather pleased with what they had at linebacker and safety. And that's not to take away from the corners either. But it seemed like in particular, it just seems like they have a lot more depth there than what I would have thought they could expect to have based on what we saw last year. And you're bringing these new guys in and hoping you have more hits than misses there. And so far, it sounds like the coaching staff feels like they do have those hits. And to hear, Coach Veit being that excited about the linebackers really helped put my mind at ease heading into the season.
Yeah, I think that's one of the position groups I'm probably most high on the entire team, behind maybe the tight ends. I'm sorry, the offensive line. Tight ends probably most improved. We talked about that last night. But defensively, I think they're the strongest group personally. They have depth. They have, I think, some stars littered throughout. And I think that with Tyson Veit being who he is and what he does with linebackers, I think that's important, a very important position. And right. I'll be surprised to see some guys not emerge, if they haven't already, emerge as stars before the season's over.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear them. And I do worry about up front. But they talk about rotating guys, keeping guys fresh, especially up front. But they're going to have that ability at the second level too, if they feel the need and want to, and I'm sure they will. And man, that pays big dividends when that game's on the line in the fourth quarter, and you got guys that aren't gassed that are out there playing defense, because that's so hard. 4 full quarters of that playing defense and chasing guys around. And, when you're on defense, you don't know that this offensive player's taking a play off. You can't take any plays off. You don't know that guy's not an option or not a high. So, you're twitching every freaking play. So it's good that they have that kind of depth that they feel like they can do some rotations.
And how reliant are you going to be on the linebacker position at this point with today's news from the defensive line, with Jalen Hunt going to be missing the season? So now you have Michael Coleman out for the year. You have Jalen Hunt out for the year. You have Dante Corleone, who is a rather large question mark. So the run-stopping defensive line that you may have been able to put together is now missing some super key pieces. And I think you're going to be a little bit more reliant than maybe you anticipated several months ago, as you looked at this defense and what you were going to have to be able to stop the run.
Yeah, they're going to have some guys stick their nose in there, and it sounds like they feel like they have those guys, but I don't think anyone planned on that nose tackle position being that decimated, and Hunt being a player of his caliber could have moved around a little bit, if Dante's playing, but now he's unfortunately lost for the season. So that's 2 of those guys that you were expecting to make a difference up front that they've lost. 3, counting Coleman. So it's a question mark, and it's a problem when you get into Big 12 play. I immediately have nightmares about that Oklahoma State second half, where they couldn't stop anything. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
didn't matter who was in. It could have been
the ball, right? You don't have to. It's so they're going to have to pull some rabbits out here, and I don't know if they do it with personnel or scheme or both. Probably both, but I'm sure they're grinding their butts off trying to figure out how they're going to handle this. And look, you never know. I mean, guys emerge, guys get chances, and they've got 2 or 3 behind Hunt might be able to step up, and you just never know, because when the Godfather came out of Coleraine, not a lot of people expected a whole lot of him right away, and that dude got on the field and showed right away he belongs. So so we'll see, but I would obviously, you would rather have those guys and not have to worry about someone emerging. because they already had those guys. So that's a tough start. That is a tough break for them. But by no means does it mean it's debilitating for the season. We'll see how they handle it.
We did see some rotations that included 3 freshmen on the defensive line, true freshmen from this freshman class. So I don't know who's going to be the name that emerges that kind of is able to do some things that none of us expected them to do.
Right.
But they're certainly trying out every option that they have right now, and we saw it in the scrimmage, and I don't expect that to be any different.
Yeah, how big and strong, and just how physically gifted they are, which is great, and that's a big part of the battle right there is having that strength and that anchor ability up front to slow that run down. So hopefully they've got that.
Yep. So we did see an awful lot of the tight end group, specifically Joe Royer. He had 4 touchdowns in the scrimmage. We saw Gavin Grover had some catches. We saw Joey Belgian had some catches. We saw Francis Sherman had some catches. So we got to see a lot of work at that tight end spot. We got to see a lot of work at the wide receiver spot with some different guys doing some different things there as well. So just got to see some of the depth on the offense side that we didn't really get to see last year.
Yeah, and this Royer thing's pretty darn exciting. And I saw that catch he made today at practice too. That I mean, that was an NFL freaking red zone catch there, snatching a ball with hands only over the top of the defender the way he did. And there was
he Randy Mossed him.
Yeah, he did. I mean, you're talking a 50-50 ball, and he talked about that after that scrimmage too, about winning those 50-50 balls.
The one yesterday was better.
It was better?
He went over the middle, a body in front of him, a body to the side of him, reached up, snatched the ball with one hand over his head, elevated it like this, and just kind of played keep away from the defense. And as he made the catch and everybody kind of like stopped and slowed down, he just like spun the ball away and laughed. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was by far the best play at camp. Like, he just was like toying with him with the ball over his head.
And it's great. And I know he had the injuries and other things going on when he was at Ohio State. Thank God he decided to come back to Cincinnati and play. But it makes you wonder what goes on up there and how easy, I guess, it is. And maybe that's not the word, but you can get lost at a place like that. That's just a wash in 4- and 5-star talent. And all this kid needed was a chance to be healthy and get on a field. And I hope it happens for him here, because he's everything I've seen and read and heard about this kid in camp, and it's been A++.
I mean, if we were to do an MVP at camp right now, today, I don't know that anybody else would get a first place vote.
Yeah.
He's been that good.
Yeah, that's crazy. But maybe that's the next great tight end to come out of this joint. It sure looks like it.
He certainly played like it.
Yeah. He's been the real deal. And I just love the fact that he gets to come back home. He gets to play with some of his high school teammates. That Luke Kandra is one of his teammates from high school that's back here and playing, and it's just a cool thing. And I know that young man's been through a lot, so I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, super exciting. Any other questions you have regarding camp?
No, you brought up the wide receivers, and it's just like last year. I mean, it was kind of a mixed bag, and we weren't sure what they had. I'm a little bit in that boat this year, but it just seems like they have more guys that are ready to play at this level.
I remember seeing I certainly agree with that. And we talked to Jim Kelly last night, and he agrees with that. You actually get to see depth this year. And I think that last year we were all frustrated. I asked Jim Kelly specifically last night if he was frustrated as a former Bearcat receiver to watch the receiver play. And he's like, you don't want to say guys really like took plays off, but guys took plays off last year, or they wouldn't finish a route, or they wouldn't finish a catch, or they just, it was weird seeing it all play out. You knew that this team wasn't as fast last year, so maybe that was part of it, where they weren't getting that breakaway where they're wide open or anything, where it was contested. An awful lot was contested, but you just didn't see a fight in the receivers. And I at the scrimmage, I saw catches from, I think we saw catches from Henderson, from Tyron Smith, from Aaron Turner, from Tony Johnson, from Michael Nasari, from Sterling Buckhalter, from Barry Jackson. You name a receiver, Kamari Anderson. You saw catches from everybody. And I think that you're going to see – I don't know that whoever starts game one, barring injury, of course, is going to be the same people that start throughout the season, or I guess maybe even not necessarily that, but as far as snap counts go, I think that that's going to be very different as the season progresses, because I think you're going to see guys start to emerge that aren't necessarily starters at the beginning of the year.
Well, and what I like about that too is you've got all those different options, and that kind of puts the defense in a tough spot when, you know how it is, like you're going up against, you're a field corner or whatever, you're going up against the same wide receiver every play. You kind of like learn quickly, and you learn from film study too. But when a different guy keeps coming at you, rotating in and out, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this. But look, they need that, because what we saw last year was not nearly good enough, not even close. And I know Jim Kelly, and I know he was frustrated by it, and it's good to hear that they're getting that kind of response out of the wide receiver room this year, because last year was not nearly good enough, and that's following an era where they've had some darn good wide receivers, put guys in the NFL, and then to see what we saw last year, they definitely need an upgrade, and it sounds like they may have that across the board. I hope they do. I'm looking forward to Thursday when I go out there and see these kids. Hopefully they'll have a good spirited practice, because they only have a few more out there, right?
Yeah, there's not a ton left. This week is the last week, so I think that you see some guys, especially with pads on, with the running back room.
Thursday's it.
Thursday's the last one.
Yeah, they come back. They do their second scrimmage Friday. So they'll be at higher ground through Thursday, and then they come back to campus Friday morning, do their second scrimmage, and then everything moves back to Nippert.
I saw their bus. I passed their bus on 74 going back on Sunday after they had the scrimmage, and they were allowed to stay in Cincinnati tonight. And then I'd been golfing out that way, and I'm driving back, and there's that Cincinnati bus. I'm like, yep, they're back to camp.
Yep. I'm intrigued to see once everything's live, because I don't think we're really going to get a full taste. But what I saw of the running backs, we know what Corey Kiner is. He's not been full go throughout any of this camp, which they're resting him. I don't blame them.
Those guys get beat around enough. He doesn't need to get beat around right now.
But between Evan Pryor and what we're going to see of him, and what we got to see a little bit of Chance Williams, I'm wildly intrigued of what Chance Williams is going to be on this team. I think that the running back room has more depth this season than they've had in the last couple of years, and I think that's going to be intriguing. Even the walk-on Dawson, he's been running some of the short yardage stuff, especially in the scrimmage. I think I saw a note on that today, without giving too much away there from Chad's notes, but on Dawson. But he seems like a grinder. I think that I'm encouraged by what the running back group has shown without having going full go, I guess, throughout all of camp.
Right. And and look, behind that line too, I feel really good about that aspect. And that's something, you want your, we talked a lot about the defensive line and stopping the opponent's run, but I'll tell you, if you've got your own good running game, that goes a little ways to neutralizing that, where you can maybe win that time of possession game. And I know we saw that a lot last year, and it didn't equate to wins, but I'll take my chances winning that battle, winning the running game, and winning the time of possession. And I feel pretty good about it behind that line. And this year, sans the critical mistakes at the critical times or the missed opportunities, clean that up, and hopefully we'll see a much better season.
We will see next Tuesday how you're feeling after taking in Camp Higher Ground and taking in a practice. So
I miss going out there. I used to go out there a couple times, and then it's it. But I love going out there. It's just trees all around and football, and that's it. And
looking
food.
forward to picking your brain next Tuesday on that. Another team in Cincinnati played some football this weekend, and they had an actual preseason game as opposed to an intra-squad scrimmage, as the Cincinnati Bengals hosted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. George, what were your takeaways as you watched that game?
Oh my gosh! Well, first of all, you had to be pleased with that first drive, and I know
humming.
Yes, it did benefit from a penalty, but that was a penalty. That pass interference call that was legit. T. Higgins looked great, right? Burrow looked great.
Not to be confused with D. Wiggins. I don't know if you saw that.
Right. Which could happen. I just that first drive and seeing that offensive line play the way they did, even not every running play was spectacular, but they got some pretty good push on the running plays for the most part. I felt like, Mims, they dodged a bullet. That injury isn't worse, because if that had been a torn pec, he'd probably be done for the season. He looked ready to go.
Let me stop you right there. And if you are able to get a full season in totality between Trent Brown and Amarius Sims, do you feel like there's a large drop off between the two right now, as you currently know them to be? And if you get a full season between the two of them, are you kind of cooking with gas?
I think you are.
I agree.
I think you got two starters over there, is what it looked like to me. I thought he played terrific for his first NFL experience.
I agree, but I'm just hoping that both of them, between the two of them, both of them can give you 17 games.
Right. That at least one of them can answer
one or the other is able to play for 17 games.
Like before Zach talks about this pec injury thing, he acted like there's still a chance he could be ready week 1 if necessary. I think if Trent Brown's up and able and all that, and this kid's still dealing with a little something, maybe you don't rush it back. But I thought I was glad to see them get that line some work in the preseason in game type conditions, even though the Bucs really weren't playing anyone. That doesn't matter. Get them out there and just get them going. And, they're not going to play them this week, and I agree with that. Maybe give them a little in that third game. They're going to see some action against the Bears in practice this week when they do those joint practices, which personally I think is a good idea. I like it. I think you could get away with 2 preseason games if you do a joint practice or 2. Which the Bengals are doing 2 of them this year, I believe. So, I thought it was a great opener by the starters on offense. And, I mean, I can run down the list, but I just really thought Joe looked like Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem like there was any issues at all on anything. Looked good on that touchdown drive. T. Higgins looked good. Mims looked good. I was looking at him. And so I that first drive, I'm like, yep, good
Yoshi
to go.
looked good.
That's
Yoshi
all.
looked good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Trent Irwin looked good.
I thought he looked really good. And that's like a maybe not forgotten by me, but kind of he's a guy, but he's more than just a guy. Like
I agree.
he made that one snag over the middle. He kind of had to
He got
and that was a throw from Burrow. And Irwin made that catch. He made that completion possible.
He also knew the hit was coming when he made that catch.
Correct. Oh, he
was able to get both hands on it and bring it down and
hang on to it. A lot of guys, that ball would have been incomplete.
I think that he is. I think he is an underrated piece here in the Queen City, and
I totally agree, and I felt that way. And you can put him back there to return too, which is good versatility. And then you go on down the line as the night progressed offensively, and everybody's favorite rookie wide receiver, Jermaine Burton, had a nice coming out party. As Zach said, they may have created a crazy thing.
I expected that to be earlier than the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden he didn't really make an appearance until the fourth quarter, and he's just like, oh, by the way, I'm really that guy.
You'll see more of him probably this week earlier.
Yeah.
In Chicago, because they're not going to play starters. And you got to get this kid going. He could be some serious help, especially if something else rears its ugly head that I don't really want to bring up, but I will.
We'll get to that. But Jermaine Burton ran some really clean routes. That double move that he put on for his first catch, where he just kind of ran that hesitation as if he was going to run a curl, and then took off, hitch and go, I guess is what you'd call it. But it was a nasty move, and then to cap it off at the end with the touchdown, he's going to be a really, really good piece to this offense.
Yeah, I think so too. I think. I gotta think, and I'm sure it's probably been talked about and I missed it. But when that kid was there, when they drafted him, they were probably over the moon in that draft room. That, oh my God, this dude, like, how
it was the character issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. But still, at some point, those are mitigated by where you're drafting him, right? I'll roll the dice there. I may not roll them in the first round, and obviously nobody would or did. But there was a time in the NFL, and there was a time when Cincinnati would probably roll the dice way too early. But I think with this, the way that, and here's another thing about the Bengals. Like, you can have a couple guys with these so-called character issues come into your program if your program is as solid as you think it is. And I think the Bengals is. And I think the Patriots were able to do that for a while. I'm not saying the Bengals are the Patriots because they don't have all those rings. But I'm saying if you have a solid enough foundation of enough veterans and everybody else who are pretty much natural-born leaders, you can bring in a couple guys and shepherd them along. And I'm not saying they have to do that with Jermaine. I don't know. I don't know if those issues are that deep. But what I am saying is, even if they are, they've got the personnel on hand to keep that in check and not make it a problem.
The only character issue that I could find to read about when he was drafted was the situation against Tennessee when Alabama lost to Tennessee, and there was a fan on the field that got a little close to him after he had just lost the game. He ends up shoving a fan, I believe it was a female, in the head or in the face or something of that nature. And I don't know that I guess I don't know that I'm labeling that a character issue. It's just You don't need to be on the field. You're how much.
I don't know what you say. Like, it's just kind of like a bad reaction, an inopportune reaction. It's a reaction because
Wrong
someone,
place, wrong time,
right?
essentially.
Like, they were just kind of running into each other, and I just lost a game like that. And you know what I'm saying? I'm not condoning, but it's like,
Right.
when we react, look, we probably all have reactions that we would like to take back, or
How much adrenaline is running through his body at that point in time? There's a lot of emotion. It's just a weird situation. So I don't know that I'm necessarily
adrenaline. You're angry that you just lost that game the way you lost it.
I guess if that's the only situation, I don't know that I'm ready to completely label his entire character as questionable. If that's the only situation you had.
No, I do agree. I don't know that there's any, people like to hold against someone who went to several different high schools, then transferred around in college or whatever. That's too much on the surface for me to judge a character by. That's you don't know what those situations are. You just don't. Especially
in any case, between him and Amarius Mims, I'm not sure who they're more excited about the future with, and guys that fell into their lap where they fell into their laps.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, as we talked about last week, and Duke Tobin talking about this kid being like a top 5 talent in the draft, just build, his feet that they can't quit talking about. Which, when you got a guy like that, I mean, the guy calling the game, Anthony Munoz, on television, who, I mean, they were somewhat making comparisons about his, remembering his first game as a rookie tackle and getting the start. And obviously he was phenomenal. But that's a guy that had feet good enough that he's playing, and athleticism, that he's playing shortstop in college when needed, on the baseball team as an offensive tackle. That just doesn't happen. Guys that big just don't move like that. But Anthony did, and this kid, while he's not Anthony, I would never say that or put that on him, but he's ahead of the curve big time in my book. And what I saw, and I kept an eye on him on that early in the game when he's in, and I kept an eye on him, and I'm like, my God, that dude, and he doesn't stop. Like, he plays through the whistle, but he doesn't do anything stupid to draw a penalty. Like, there were a couple times he probably could have plowed a guy. I mean, I thought he did very well.
I agree. T. Higgins had a couple great plays, drawing the penalty on that PI on that first drive, and then catching it and still powering in for the score. Good to see him looking as if he has not missed a beat. And that's even without Jamar Chase on the other side. So I don't know, just encouraged by T. Higgins
putting himself out there, telling everybody in the NFL, I'm a number 1 receiver. That's exactly what's going on. That dude is saying, look, I know we got Jamar, and yeah, okay, maybe he's number 1 here, but 28 other teams, I can be number 1. And that's what he should do this year. That's exactly what he should do.
Disagree there, but speaking of Jamar Chase, he was not at practice today, as he is now being listed as day-to-day, as he is they weren't calling it a holdout initially, and now I guess we're labeling it as a holdout, as he's not injured, and now he's not at practice. Where's your head right now in regards to Jamar Chase?
My head is this. I really wasn't sure it was going to get to this point. And we're going to see this next week's going to be pretty big, and see what happens and what his next move is.
I think
because I thought he would be playing, and now I'm not so sure.
I think the whole thing is stupid. And I say that.
Well, they got to get a deal done.
The Bengals should already have this deal done.
Right.
This is the easiest thing in the world.
That's why you
Sign-
don't let it get to this point. I agree. I am agreeing with you on that.
Whatever
But
you're signing,
we're at an auto point right here.
whatever you're signing him today, it's cheaper than what it costs tomorrow. If you wait until CeeDee Lamb has a deal with Dallas or wherever he gets traded to, if he doesn't sign with Dallas, you waited too long. If you wait for Brandon Ayuk to get traded to Pittsburgh or wherever he gets traded to with an extension attached, you waited too long, because there's always going to be somebody else trying to set the bar. The longer you wait, the higher that bar is going to get. Just sign him. And if you're going to do interviews, as Mike Brown did, saying we're going to bend over backwards for the guy, put your money where your mouth is. Bend over backwards for the guy. Get the deal done. What are you waiting for?
This should not have come to this, and
No, it shouldn't have.
they knew it was coming. And look, he'll make a good chunk of change next year, but still, it's not what the top receivers in the league are making. And certainly this year, I think his salary is just over $1 million. Give me a break. This is a top 3 receiver in the league, right?
It's if you get into the weeds of all of that, and Joe Goodberry actually broke it down pretty well when that talk came out from Adam Schefter. Yes, his baseline salary is less than or right around $1 million, but honestly, so is Justin Jefferson's this season. So there's some different things with his bonus. If you add in his bonus, if you add in some other things, he's making, I think, somewhere in the realm of $8 million once all said and done. So he's not just making $1 million. There was some other things that you can throw in there as you look at what his tax form is going to say at the end of the year.
Well, the fact is, you don't want your best players who you can rely on week in and week out as being absolute studs getting to the point where they're doubting that you are keeping their best interest at heart, right?
I agree. I totally agree. And again,
that's where we're getting. That's where we're getting. And then you don't want to piss them off to the point that they say, screw it, I'm just playing it out.
When you drafted Jamar Chase and you already had T. Higgins here, you kind of saw this train coming years ago. Oh, yeah. This is not a surprise. We knew this was coming 3 years ago when they drafted him. We knew this was coming 2 years ago when you knew Higgins' deal was coming up. You knew this a year ago when Higgins' deal was up and you put him on his 5th-year option. You knew all of this was coming. You're waiting too long. Just get the deal done.
I have a question, George.
Yep.
What did we hear a lot about when they were going through the Burrow contract thing?
What did we hear a lot about?
Having the money, the guaranteed money in escrow.
Yes.
What do we know about this family?
They probably don't have a lot of money in escrow that they want anyone to know about.
You've already put
that's
$260 million in escrow or whatever it is for Joe Burrow. I wonder if they have the money.
Yeah, I wonder too. That's a good point because this
could be why we were going to do this next year, right? Like he's still got 2 years of team control and then 2 years of franchise tagging after that. We don't have to be in a hurry. We got plenty of time. All of a sudden, Jamar says, no, you got to be in a hurry. Well, they're going to have to guarantee Jamar $150 million or whatever it is. And my understanding is if you write that check,
right, you have to have the money in escrow. That is true.
They have another $150 million in the bank to put into escrow to do this deal right now.
I would be going to Fifth Third Bank tomorrow going, I need to borrow some money to have it in escrow.
sell
And
the
I don't know
boat,
what the rules are. Maybe you can't even do that. But
sell the vacation home.
and quite honestly, is that a lot of people felt that whole naming rights of the stadium thing played into that borough escrow thing.
Right. That's
I
why
don't
we
know
call
that
it.
for a fact. But
That's
they
why
did
I call
talk
it
about that.
Pay Joe Stadium.
But if that's the case, they're screwed. Because they're not going to be able to sign anyone to a big deal if they can't cover this, and maybe they can't. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, Chad.
Well,
And-
George, it's maybe it's not that they can't cover it, it's that the plan was to cover it next offseason.
Right.
Right? Like, okay, we're financially planning out, we're putting
Right.
our chess pieces on the board, and this chess piece was getting Joe his money. We knew we weren't going to pay T his money, and then next offseason we would be ready to put Jamar's money in escrow. I
Right.
just wonder.
It
If
does
that's-
make you wonder because it shouldn't have gotten to the point where this is happening. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
The thing is, George, I think up until Jefferson, nobody has gotten that deal with 2 years left. The deals have always been done after year 4,
right,
before year 5.
right,
That
and that's
option year,
probably what they planned from the get-go. But
I just thinking outside the box. It's not something I've heard anybody talk about. But if that Burrow
no, but you are
escrow
right.
money
Yep,
was such a big deal a year and a half ago, what makes you think they've got 125, 150 now? If they were struggling to get to Joe's money a year ago, last summer, they didn't come up with well, maybe they did, but they didn't come up with 150 million liquid cash out of thin air. And remember, this is not a family that is a business family. That is, they own something and then they bought the Bengals.
Right. Their business is the Bengals.
Their business is the Bengals. They do not have a $1 billion portfolio.
Right.
They don't.
I'm
just thinking out loud.
No, but you are right, because I felt the same way about the Burrow thing. It's like they got to have this money in escrow. So that's a good point, and I don't know if that's hanging it up, but boy, if it is, then that's not good. But I will say, this whole thing just makes me go, uh-oh. This is because I don't know about you, Aaron, but I feel like the thing today basically says I'm not probably going to be here for game 1 if I don't have a deal or feel confident I'm going to have a deal very, very soon.
If you don't have a deal, you're still under contract for the next 2 years, whether you like it or not, and you're just going to be taking fines.
I don't know. That, or you just show up on Sunday and put on that number 1 jersey. I don't know what you do.
It's weird times, but we'll see. I did want to touch on one last Bengals.
It's a damn shame because they're set up to do some damage.
I agree.
They are set up to do some real damage, and I just there's got to be a way around this, and there's got to be a plan. I mean, I guarantee you, Duke Tobin has a plan, and he's got a thought about this, and he is not going to want this to affect the football team, the seasons, the season, or the win column. So we shall see. I have a lot of faith in that dude, but if they don't have the dough, they don't have the dough, because there is an NFL. I guess I don't know if you call it a rule, but it's certainly you do have to have that guaranteed money in escrow.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call it. It's a rule, a guideline, whatever you want to call it. But
I'll tell you what I would do. I will go down the Fifth Third or wherever. I'll go to Huntington, borrow $200 million and buy into that team. I'll do that if they'll give me that today, because I guarantee you in 10 years I'm gonna make my money and then some.
Yeah,
because
well,
the NFL is not losing money.
maybe the name George Vogel carries enough clout to do
I'll
that.
give them cash.
I don't think Aaron
Sign
Smith does that.
win a Super Bowl, and I'll sit back and let those revenues go up and up and up and up and up like they have been. And there's going to be another television contract coming up, and
That's
the
the
sky
opposite
will
of
be the limit because live sports is where it's at.
That's the opposite of the stock market. The only other topic I wanted to touch on is the only other Bengals topic is, did you see the orange pants, George?
I didn't. I heard about them. I heard about them on the radio, so that didn't do me any good.
All right. Well, I expected you to have seen said pants, so let me see if I can find them while we filibuster
Oh, I'm
here.
sorry. Yeah, I heard about it on the radio, and they're going to unveil it on that the Browns game, the night game, the primetime game. Is that what I heard?
I didn't catch the game. I just know that they're running the orange pants with the black jerseys and the orange helmets, which is way better than the. I've seen some renderings. Good. I've seen some renderings with the orange jersey and the orange pants with the orange helmet, and it just looks like the orange helmet threw up all over your jersey. I think it's too much. It's overkill when you're running orange. But the black orange, I can tolerate.
It sounds good to me.
I don't love that this is taking away from the white combination. You can only run, I guess, an alternate like this twice a year.
The white combination turned out to be a lot better than I thought it would. I didn't like it when I heard it, but when you saw it on the field in action, it really popped. It was really nice. But the Bengals I've liked their uniforms from day one. I've liked their color scheme. Most of even the helmets, when they unveiled those, and this was back in 1980 or whatever, and people kind of laughed at them at first, but it's like they were so unique and just like, yeah, okay, there was a USFL feel to it, but it was, I loved it. And everybody who sees that helmet, they know right away who the hell's on the field.
I think I found a picture here. There we go. Picture of the pants. I know that this was one of your rivals here, but it was just the first one I found in a Google search. So I do apologize for dropping one of the other news channels.
I worked with all these people, and I love them all. I don't begrudge anything, and they've all been so good to me. All right, where we got it from? Oh, Kevin Barnett's station, Richard Skinner, and Jake. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with those. Nothing at all. That'll look good with the black jersey.
Yeah, the Twitter account said "cat's out of the bag" for the Bengals. So the way that this actually emerged was Madden came out for the people who bought the expanded edition of Madden. You got the early release, as the game doesn't come out until Friday, but it was released yesterday for the people who bought the expanded release of Madden, and you could pick orange pants on Madden, and that people were like, "Oh, is this a thing now? We can wear orange pants with the black stripes." And the Bengals were like, "Oh, we didn't really want it revealed this way, but I guess this is how we're doing it." So
that's strange, and that's the world we live in now, isn't it? It's very strange. But
did you see how they released it? Classic.
I did not. I had to hear it on the radio.
So do you remember what happened when the orange tops got released?
Yeah,
on the hanger. Yeah,
on the coat hanger. They put the orange pants on just a regular coat hanger and hung it up, and they took a picture of it and they tweeted out like, "You caught us."
That's good.
That's great social media.
I like that.
Yeah, look, my favorite thing about comedy is the callback.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
That's hilarious.
There's the jerseys that they did that with, and then the pants.
But the jerseys will be black when they wear those pants, you say?
Correct. So,
Yeah, I got no
actually
problem.
it'll actually technically look like a Bengal, as a Bengal tiger is predominantly orange with the black stripes. So,
Yes.
is what it is. It appears we've not yet talked about the Reds or FC Cincinnati. Both played tonight. The Reds played a game in less than 2 hours, and they were able to beat the St. Louis Cardinals 4-1. FC Cincinnati, it appears, has lost 4-2 in their match tonight. Hunter Green, though, again, pitching out of his mind, only gave up 1 run, although he did have a puke again. His 4th time puking on the mound this season. As he pukes right into his glove, it goes spewing out of the holes in the glove. I did see a stat.
The craziest thing.
I did see a stat, and I want to make sure that I give proper recognition here. But there's a guy on Twitter at Cincy Hub. He said Hunter Green leads the major leagues with 4 pukes on the mound. Everyone else has 0. What else can't this man do? And at Big Red Tweeter said Hunter Green has more mound pukes 4 than Jake Fraley has home runs this season 3. Both fun stats there for you.
Well, another fun stat as far as I'm concerned is Hunter Green in his last 8 starts has allowed 6 earned runs.
1.07.
3 came in 1 start, right?
1.07 earned run average in those last 8 starts.
It is insane what he's been doing. And, listening to Barry Larkin tonight on the telecast talking about, my God, who am I seeing here? And he's like, I don't think it's Bob Gibson yet, but the fact that you're even thinking that way when you're seeing this guy do what he's doing, blowing people away, setting them up with the slider and vice versa. Woo! He is turning into the guy they thought he could be when they took him number 2 overall. And I'm telling you, and the shame is the other young guys have struggled a little bit lately. I mean, Abbott's been spotty. He was good last night. Lodolo's had a couple of outings where you're like, what the hell's going on? But he's had some injury things. So one time it was the blister. God, if they can just get that together. And everyone worries about Diaz in that closer role, but the guy's like 26 of 28 now this season. That's pretty damn good.
I think the most frustrating thing for me about this season is the fact that you legitimately may have the runner-up in both the Cy Young in Hunter Green and the MVP in Ellie De La Cruz, who did this past week. I don't know if he still holds it, but I know at some point this past week he did pass up Shohei Ohtani in F-WAR for the season. It blows my mind that you have just completely wasted an entire season having this dominant of a performance by both a player on your roster and a pitcher, and you just shit the bed with just being afraid to spend money.
Well, I'm going to say something that is going to sound crazy, but it ain't over yet. And I still don't believe, even in the playoffs, I just don't think they're built to get it done. But they can still make it happen. Now they've got to make some. They've got to make a move now. They have got to start this treading water, and they've done a little better lately. What, they were 4-3 on the trip, and now they've won 2. So
losing 9 straight series to the Brewers sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Terrible. Oh, the weekend, those first 2 games were just an abomination.
But you are 2 games. You're only 2 games under 500 now. You're 9 games back in the Central.
Right.
However,
the schedule between now and almost the end of, I think they face Milwaukee at the end of the month. But they got the A's. They've got, the Royals have been pretty good. There's somebody else in the American League that's so. They got some teams they can beat coming up, but September is tough. September is going to be fairly tough, but they could still make the postseason. I just don't expect a whole lot out of them, and part of the reason being is, other than Hunter, I don't know what you're going to get out of those starters. I mean, Spires
Sure.
and Lodolo and Abbott have been kind of spotty here lately. Nick Martinez had a good last start, but his roles all over the map. But he's giving them what he can. And then you've just got to hit the ball a little more consistently than what they've done. I mean, it's just they'll knock the cover off the ball like they did in Florida, and then go to sleep like they did in Milwaukee, and that's just treading water. And you're not going to win big treading water. You might make the playoffs, but you're not going to win big. However, they have got to make a move. They have got to make a move in the offseason. They've got to spend some money, and if they don't, then the hell with it. It ain't ever going to happen.
You got the Royals coming up after they finish up with the Cardinals tomorrow. The Royals are 11 games over 500. Then you have the Blue Jays, who are 9 games under. 11 games under 500.
Yeah, the Blue Jays. That's who I forgot.
And then you got the Pirates, who they made some moves and they have not been able to figure it out. And then you got the Athletics, as you mentioned, before you face the Brewers to end the month. So I'm with you. I think that if you're going to, if I'm the front office, if it's me, David Bell has to figure out this season, or David Bell is gone. The end. You have to make the playoffs this year, or you are not back to start next season. You cannot be the manager next season if you are not able to figure it out this year.
I'm not going to argue with that. I feel the same way. I texted some friends of mine last week pretty much saying the same thing, that this, look, they've given him a lot of rope. Have they given him a lot of help? Maybe not. Has he been snake bitten? Probably, with injuries and all that. But all organizations deal with that. The results are what you have to go on. And to me, the results have not been there. And I love the guy. And I think he's been really good. He's been really good building this atmosphere they have, where the team it's a close team. I just feel like at some point, though, you got to show up in the win column, and they haven't done it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. If I were owning this team, I would be a terrible owner, because I probably wouldn't have a lot of patience. I would have some, but I'm telling you what, I would make a change if it doesn't happen from here to the end of the season. It's in front of them. They can still make it.
You're 4 games out in the wild card. And granted,
look,
I think there's also 4 teams between them and making that wild card spot.
And that's how it is. That's how baseball's set up. That's so we keep watching and thinking,
Sure.
Hey, our team that's why they did this, and it works. But you should be able to advance one of those seasons just based on luck, and it hasn't happened. So you got to make it happen. And look, there's a lot of guys that can or are good baseball managers that you can go out and get if you identify the right guy. And so I'm with you on that. They need to make a change if we don't see the results.
And who wouldn't be excited about coming in and getting the core nucleus of this team as a manager?
I think you'd be a fool not to want to jump on this if you know what you're doing.
I agree.
And they do. They do need to spend a little money and get a couple more things settled. But we'll see how it plays out. At least we're talking about them with still a chance, because a couple of weeks ago I'd kind of given up and just thought they were going to tread water the rest of the way, and they may. But this treading water is pissing me off. You can't win 3, lose 4, win 2, lose 3, win 3, lose. I mean, come on. And now would be the perfect time for them to do what we did back in the 70s, and that is go streaking, baby. Reel off a streak.
I love that you ebb and flow as much as the Reds do. It's hilarious. The FC Cincinnati, though, they did drop 4-2 tonight in their match. They're in this weird tournament. The
Leagues Cup.
Leagues Cup.
I don't mind that they lost. The only thing that makes me like not happy they lost. I mean, I wouldn't be happy, but the only upsetting part of this is it's Philadelphia. They kind of got a little rivalry going with Philly, but take a week off and get ready for the rest of the MLS season. That's fine with me.
Yeah, you got 11 days between now and your next game against Inter Miami.
Yep.
I'm assuming they'll have Messi back at that point in time, so maybe a little bit different Inter Miami than what we saw last time. And then you got CF Montreal to end the month up. So we'll see what FC Cincinnati is able to do. But yeah, you got some experience for your second teamers, more or less.
Who played pretty well, by the way.
For this tournament. You didn't get blanked, so it's not as if you weren't out there actually trying.
Right.
So get out of there, get it done, whatever. Doesn't matter for me. Other than that, this is the spot where I usually ask you as far as the high schoolers. I know that we are creeping ever closer.
It's coming up soon. I'll give you a little
week and a half out, right?
What's that?
A week and a half out before high school season starts.
And I'll give you a little bit of a scouting report on what we can expect in Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and who knows? I'll throw some Southeast Indiana in there too, because obviously East Central was really, 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 really good last year. So I'll be up to speed on that, and I will enjoy the Bearcats on Thursday out at Higher Ground.
All right, plenty to talk about next week. Hopefully, we can squeeze it all into our little.
What are those little those desserts? Those Bearcat
bars?
Yeah, is that what they have out there?
George,
is that what they call them? I think that's it.
I'm really sorry I have to break this news to you.
No,
they don't have lunchtime desserts anymore.
Damn.
The nutritionist has put a kibosh to that.
I understand that, but they should just make a few for the spectators. I would buy boxes of those.
I don't think it works that way. Maybe you look. You might have the juice to call Higher Ground.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to somebody out here Thursday. And if I get some, I'm going to bring it. I'll have one next week on this podcast.
All right.
All right, Aaron.
On that note, that's going to wrap it up for our little show here, George in the Jungle. Again, thank you to Remington Tavern. You can find them at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy. You can follow them on Facebook. But for my cohort in crime, George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith, and we will see you back here at 9 o'clock next week to discuss all things Cincinnati sports.